story begins not with a movie, but in real life with Prohibition. For it is Prohibition in the 1920s that triggers an era of lawlessness in America. And it is this era that Hollywood will portray in its extraordinary cycle of gangster pictures. First, the public itself rebels against the government's attempt to legislate morality. Chicago alone boasts of having 20,000 speakeasies. Millions of Americans find that breaking the law can be fun. The law, however, now finds itself fighting not only bootleggers, but those who have come in their wake, gamblers, racketeers, and hired killers. The gangster soon becomes a national menace, and the public finds him a mysterious and dramatic figure. The most powerful man in the underworld is Scarface Al Capone. Now barely 30, he controls policemen, judges, and mayors, and he openly runs a vast network of bootlegging, gambling, protection, and vice. His annual revenue is reported at over 100 million. Capone is a new breed of gangster who appears proudly in public, who doesn't have to run from the law because he is the law. In Florida, Capone even luxuriates in a palatial estate where he flaunts his riches in the face of society. Violence is the foundation of Capone's kingdom. His gangland rivals are machine-gunned in broad daylight. And during the Prohibition era, more than 500 Chicago gangsters are slain by their own kind. In the big cities, the gangster funeral becomes a major social event. The mourners frequently include city officials and congressmen. And the funeral of racketeer Dino Banyan is attended even by the men suspected of killing him. Among them, Al Capone. These spectacles intrigue rather than outrage the public. After all, it's just one gangster killing another. The most notorious criminal of the era is John Dillinger. Says one writer, Dillinger robbed banks, not people, and became to many a sort of Robin Hood of the Depression. His exploits fascinate America. He escapes from jails and machine guns his way out of FBI traps. And the public conveniently overlooks the fact that Dillinger is involved in the killing of some 20 people. Dillinger himself revels in his reputation as an American folk hero. Hollywood soon decides to cash in on the public's fascination with public enemies. In the 1930s, studios grind out dozens of gangster pictures, and immediately the censors protest that Hollywood is glorifying crime. Audiences, however, flock to see this new kind of movie. For as the Great Depression grips America, the public feels helpless in this national calamity. But in the darkness of a theater, they can escape. They can live vicariously in the forbidden adventures of men who take the law into their own hands. For a screen counterpart to John Dillinger, Hollywood finds an actor with a remarkable resemblance, Humphrey Bogart. Al Capone is probably flattered when he sees the menacing portrayals by his counterpart, Edward G. Robinson. Capone's arch rival in the underworld, Dino Banyan, finds his likeness in James Cagney. And then there are others. John Garfield, the rebellious child of the Depression. Spencer Tracy, the flamboyant big city racketeer. George Raft, the cold-eyed trigger man. Paul Muni, who is a sensation as Scarface. And before he's the thin man, William Powell plays the gentleman jewel thief. Hollywood bases its crime films on stories fresh from the morning headlines. And eager audiences now feel that they're getting the lowdown on life in the underworld. In a make-believe way, the gangster film becomes an extension course in crime, in how to succeed as a gangster. And the public's first lesson is that to be a gangster, you first have to think like one. In Hollywood's eyes, if you're lucky enough to be born in the slums, you have an advantage. Everyone knows that when you grow up without tennis courts and swimming pools, you're entitled to become a criminal. And early in life, you develop rather antisocial attitudes.
Everybody's got larceny in his heart. Everybody's looking for something for nothing. Honest men are scarcer than feathers on a frog.
Take a look at those mitts. You don't see any calluses on them, do you? Only sap's work.
I gotta get from rags to riches quick. You got any suggestions?
Yeah, money's all right, but it ain't everything. Now, be somebody. Look hard at a bunch of guys and know that they'll do anything you tell them. Have your own way or nothing. Be somebody.
Listen, nobody pushes me around. If I take chances because I want to take them. I'm on my way to the top and I'm going to get there.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I got plans and I got organization. Nothing's gonna stop me. I'm gonna make this whole town pay off to me, from bootblacks to bankers.
Every guy for himself. Pushing, shoving, trampling each other sure. City full of them. Crooked streets and crooks. Fight, cheat, deal from the bottom. That's what it takes to make good here. If they want rats, I'll be a rat. The daddy of all rats. I'll show them.
Once you're a successful gangster, the benefits are staggering. Women find you irresistible if you handle them with care. The master of this art, the man to follow, is James Cagney. Women have succumbed to his charms ever since Public Enemy, when he introduced them to a new style of lovemaking.
I didn't ask you for any lip. I asked you if you had a drink.
I know, Tom, but... Yeah, I wish that...
There you go down wishing stuff again. I wish you was a wishing well, so that I could tie a bucket to you and sink you.
Maybe you found someone you like better.
I knew you couldn't hold out forever. You need a girl like me.
Sure, you got what it takes to get him, baby. Move over. I want to give you a break. You'll never forget this as long as you live.
Oh, you hurt me.
That's love.
Ow!
That's love.
Darling, you're so considerate.
Why, you...
You're the sweetest guy in the world. I think you're fascinating.
But to be a successful gangster, you must also know how to handle men. Dangerous men. Cunning men. There is no better coach in the art of leadership than Edward G. Robinson, king of the snarlers.
Boys, I want you to meet a new guy what's going to be with us. This is,
Caesar Enrico Vandello.
oh, little Caesar, huh?
Yeah, sure. Hey, now listen, you mugs. No use chicken scratching around. I got something to say to you, especially to you. Sam, you can dish it out, but you're getting so you can't take it no more. You're through. Ernie? You're through. Nobody ever quit me. You're still in my gang. Do you get that? If you ain't out of town by tomorrow morning, you won't never leave it except in a pine box. If anybody turns yellow and squeals, my gun's gonna speak its piece. Now, this is your last chance. You're gonna spill it, or do I start to work? Who's the wise guy? Come on now, speak up. If you don't, I'll break every guy's head in this room. You see, Otero? There ain't no use in being scared of any of these big guys. The bigger they come, the harder they fall. Yeah. I ain't doing so bad in this business so far.
In the underworld, talk must be backed up with action. And if you're the boss, you have to prove it. with a variety of techniques that have taken long years of diligent study. Since the big-time gangster is by nature a sensitive man, he prefers to start off gently.
I don't expect to get a sucker like you every night.
Don't you ever say that to me again, do you hear? Never.
Violence, however, leads to violence. That is part of the fun in being a gangster. And what will eventually separate the men from the boys are not fists, but gunplay. When the heat is on, the high-powered limousine is the gangster's best friend, a swift and lethal plaything. You really haven't succeeded as a gangster until you make headlines as a public enemy. And the surest way to do this is personally to take on a major city's entire police force.
All right, let him have it.
In the St. Valentine's Day massacre during the reign of Al Capone, 7 men were slaughtered. But you'll have to do better than that to meet Hollywood standards for success as a gangster.